Welcome back, everyone. We are here with another product review, this time with Domino Data Lab. Please introduce yourself.
Good morning, thank you. Hi, my name's Bryan. I lead the sales engineering team here at Domino in EMEA, and I've been working at Domino for about 4 years now with a variety of different customers across the European region.
Awesome. So what are you going to show us today?
Yeah, so today I'm going to take you through a kind of general overview of Domino itself, what we're doing with organizations, and then we're going to jump into a little bit of a demo as well to show how Domino can help enterprises to scale out AI across the business. Okay, so Domino's been around for about 10 years now. We're working with some of the largest organizations in the world, so helping them to scale their AI and data science delivery across the organization, bringing models to the business and generating new revenue streams, that kind of thing. So we're working with lots of different regulated industries. So we've got a strong kind of focus around reproducibility, governance. So we do a lot of work within the pharmaceutical industry. We do a lot of work within banking, finance, and government as well. We're also supported by a very vibrant ecosystem of different technical partners, because part of our solution is to be able to deploy into complex multi- and hybrid cloud ecosystems as well. So some of the challenges that we see in the ecosystem is that scaling AI at an enterprise scale is very difficult. There's a huge difference between those who have kind of mastered that art and those that are lagging behind. You know, it can be up to 2 times faster to deploy models. And if you're able to get that kind of speed up in the day-to-day work that you do as a data science organization, you can use that time saving to move through more use cases. So it allows you to deliver value out to different parts of the business over time.
Is this due to lack of technical tooling, or what do you think? How do they end up that much faster?
Yeah. We see this as kind of 3 different pillars. So it's not necessarily lack of technical tooling. In fact, sometimes it can be having too many tools. There's like a fragmented ecosystem where different parts of the business may be using siloed technology stacks. So you then end up with a kind of wild west within the organization where you have lots of different teams of individuals with different technology stacks. From an IT perspective, it's very hard to manage each of those different ecosystems. There's often little interoperability between them.
Right.
The second of the pillars is around the way that these teams can be siloed from a collaboration and communication perspective. It can be very difficult for teams to understand what is going on within the business. What's the neighboring team actually working on? You know, if I'm working on some pricing models, have the marketing team done any evaluations of technology which is going to be useful to me? Are they building models which I could then utilize in the way that I do my business? So that can lead to teams being quite unproductive and reinventing the wheel quite a lot. And then the last kind of challenge there is artisanal processes as well. If you have these siloed teams working in different manners, the processes that they use to actually deliver results can be vastly different.
Right.
So helping organizations to standardize those processes and have a kind of common workflow for delivering value is vitally important to speeding up the time to delivery. But it also helps to empower teams to have a more governed way of actually delivering models. Obviously, the reproducibility and responsibility and governance around AI is a hot topic at the moment. And so having standardized processes to make sure that every model that's being used by the business is going through the appropriate amount of rigor before it gets into production is, again, super important.
Makes sense.
And as more and more organizations are kind of jumping into generative AI, this actually exasperates some of those problems because there are now more tools and the tool ecosystem is changing so rapidly. And then you have more teams that are getting involved. It's not just data science teams or statisticians. You've got teams across the organization starting to use some of these Gen AI tools. So each of those different problems becomes a little bit harder with Gen AI.
Right.
And this is where the Domino platform can come in to help. It provides a single unified experience, which is open and collaborative. So the Domino platform can use and connect out to any data. It's able to bring in all sorts of different open source and proprietary software into the platform. You can, as a data scientist, you can choose the languages that you're most comfortable with. So you can be more efficient simply by being able to use the tooling that you're familiar, but within this governed ecosystem. It's inherently collaborative, so multiple teams can use the platform simultaneously. They can create things like templates and share those out across the organization.
Right.
So it allows them to create standardized best practices that can be used throughout the ecosystem.
It's fun to see OpenMPI there. I don't think a lot of people here are familiar with cluster or supercomputing and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people using Spark out there for clustering, and then OpenMPI, I guess, is a slightly more classical on-prem.
OpenMPI is for hardcore people. Spark is for people that
fantastic, yeah.
don't know how to write parallel programs.
That's it, and we've got quite a few customers using Ray as well. Again, in the Gen AI space, provides a fantastic way of training some of those larger language models,
right.
like a Llama.
And I am, Ray has been around for a long time now. Long, right? Everything's relative, but it's funny that. I think only because it's been picked up in some LLM serving frameworks that now I've heard it quite a few times at this event in specific, and now I see it in your slides and some other places. So I guess I wonder if people are using it for compute, which it can be used for, sort of like Dask, or if people are using it only secondhand because it comes bundled with LLM serving frameworks or things like that.
Yeah, I've seen it used in both contexts. I would say primarily with some of the customers that I've been working with recently, they're using it to parallelize either training workloads or classical statistical models as well. So worked with an insurance company who's simply just using more parameters in their models because they can scale out and run across more infrastructure. Or I was working with a telecoms company recently who were looking at training large language models across a superpod on premise. And so in that kind of case, they want to use Ray to be able to utilize all of those GPUs in that kind of training framework.
Right.
So yeah, and again, because the Domino platform is open, you can use all of these different libraries within the ecosystem very easily. So,
right.
Yeah.
Neat.
Another key part of the platform, as I mentioned, is like the reproducibility and the kind of system of record approach to data science. So when data scientists are building models in Domino, every action that they take is kind of reproducible. So it means that the whole platform has a great kind of basis of auditability and validation as well. So you can register the models that you create, which we'll have a look at briefly in the demo in a moment. And every piece of work can be replayed later if needs be. So it provides that fantastic grounding for validated workflows. And then within the platform, obviously, as well as doing the kind of development side, there's the MLOps side as well. So the ability to deploy these models as APIs, as batch workloads, interactive applications, all at the kind of click of a button to the end user. So drastically reducing the complexity for typical data science teams in being able to get over that last mile when it comes to delivering value to the business. And then one of the key things that I think sets us apart from some of the other technologies in this space is the strength of our hybrid and multi-cloud approach. I think organizations that are using multiple clouds and maybe some on-premise infrastructure as well, they tend to have different technology ecosystems in each of those different environments. Whereas Domino can seamlessly be deployed across different geographies, across different clouds and on-premise. So as a data scientist within a single pane of glass, I can push workloads out to where it makes sense to run them. If I've got some on-premise infrastructure, it might make sense for me to do my GPU training down there.
What about edge devices?
So the platform, because we're using open source frameworks to do the model deployment, you can take the models out of the platform and then deploy them out into edge. So if you're using something like NVIDIA Tritron or some of the other kind of edge-centric things, you can absolutely move models out that way as well. So yeah. So what I'll do now is I'll jump into a quick demo to kind of show some of those different aspects, and then we'll wrap up.
We love demos.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So this is the Domino platform. Within the Domino platform, all of my work is kind of separated out into projects where I can invite my different team members to collaborate with me. So in this particular example, I'm going to be working with my team on creating a loan approval model to understand if a particular person is risky from a credit perspective. Now, I could start from one of the templates that exist that I mentioned earlier, some of these things that either Domino has created to help with things like sentiment analysis or large language model training, or I could have created some templates from my own organization. But in this particular case, I've already started working with my colleague Jim. So I'll come into my collaborating projects and get started within here. So once I come into the project, I can see the different work that Jim has already gone through. We've set goals within this project, so we're helping again to kind of standardize that workflow and make sure that it is repeatable and well governed. And once I'm into the platform, I can then utilize the kind of centralization here to connect out to the different data that I want to use. So it may be that I want to come in and add a new data source, which my IT team have set up for me. Perhaps we can look for one of the S3 buckets, and I can add that to my project. So that will now be kind of available for me to use when I come in and do my development work. Once I've got my data kind of connected, the next thing that I may want to do is to start an interactive development environment. And this is where, again, Domino has a huge amount of flexibility, because I can choose the IDE that makes sense for me. It may be that actually this project is a polyglot project where I'm using multiple different languages for different parts of the problem. I can choose the IDE which is going to make me most efficient. So as a data scientist, I've got a tremendous amount of flexibility and freedom here.
That's a lot of choice right there.
Yeah, and obviously you can limit this choice for particular projects if you want to, but in general, Domino is about bringing tools into the platform rather than forcing you to use something proprietary.
Right. No, but I mean, you have everything from old school SAS,
Yeah.
Zeppelin, Streamlit, VS Code, Jupyter.
We still see a huge amount of organizations using SAS, some of them looking to kind of migrate across to R or Python.
Yeah.
And so this is the kind of platform where you can run all of those different workloads in one place.
Yeah. No, it's good because then the SAS people that don't want to learn anything new can just keep doing what they've always done.
Yeah, and still collaborate with the kind of newer breed of data scientists. In that
exactly.
sense. Yeah. One of the nice things here is also that I can choose the hardware that I want to run this particular piece of work on. And this is where the hybrid and multi-cloud piece becomes so important, because as a data scientist, I can choose these different resources. And this particular instance of Domino is within AWS. But if I scroll down in this list, I also have access to GCP resources at the click of a button.
Could you have that in your own colo center or like in your own on-premise?
Yeah, this could be on-premise. It could be in different geographies.
Could it be edge devices too?
As long as it can run a Kubernetes cluster. That's the kind of base.
Okay, so Kubernetes
platform.
In the background.
So edge is probably not where you'd run these kind of training workloads. But yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So obviously, if I have data that has to stick within a particular geography or in a particular cloud, this really easily allows me to do that kind of workload. As we mentioned, we can support distributed compute frameworks as well, like Ray and Dask. But once I'm into my model development environment, it is a very familiar Jupyter Lab experience. So I can come in here, I can install new packages, I can experiment, I can utilize those different data sources that I configured in my project. All of that's very easy to use. Then when I've done my experiment, when I've done my kind of initial training, I might want to do some parallel experimentation to do some things like hyperparameter tuning. And Domino supports that really effectively as well. So we have baked in experiment tracking, where I can go in and I can see which of my different models is going to be the most effective way of solving this particular challenge. And so, again, all of the different executions within the platform are tracked and reproducible. So when I come in here, I can see exactly which piece of code was run, what version of that code was run, when was that run.
Is this similar to MLflow, or is it complementary, or how does that work?
So we're actually embedding MLflow into the platform.
Okay.
So if you're already familiar with MLflow, it's super easy to use within Domino. We're providing on top of this like a role-based access control security model to make it more seamlessly integrated.
Yeah, no, that's neat.
Yeah, and overall the platform is trying to provide that kind of like single integrated experience. From here, I can then choose the best model that I have, and I can register that within my model registry. So again, going back to that kind of governance piece, it allows me to document the purpose of the model, where I should and shouldn't be using this, and how I should be kind of utilizing this within the ecosystem. It allows me to do things like model review processes as well. So if I have a validation team, they can come into the platform and review all of the different pieces that I've done and make sure that it's fit for purpose. And then from here, I can go on and I can productionize it at the click of a button by deploying this model as an API, or then wrapping that as something like an interactive web application, all within this one kind of seamless experience. So in terms of the demo, that was kind of the main things I wanted to show. Just in kind of summary, the Domino platform is amazing in that it's open and extensible, so we can pull in all of these different open source tools. It allows data scientists to use all of the different things that they're familiar with, but in this kind of well-governed environment. We've got guaranteed reproducibility, so this is fantastic when you need to prove why you got to a particular result, or you need to go through some kind of model auditing process. And then it's fantastic in terms of compounding knowledge. So the ability to bring all of the different data science teams within an organization together and be faster and more effective as a whole. And it provides a cohesive experience from start to finish for the data science process. You know, I can do everything that I need to without jumping down into any of the underlying technology. It can all be done within that kind of single user interface, even across clouds and hybrid scenarios.
I think that cohesive experience is a selling point that is much stronger than people realize, because one thing I keep talking about with my customers right now is the developer experience. Having developers that feel like they're able to do fun, productive, creative, fast, impactful work is super important.
Absolutely.
And I'm getting sort of the vibes here of, you know, there are some other vendors here that have some of this stuff in, and as long as you're entirely within their ecosystem, they provide a lot of those services. But there, it's very much everything or nothing, right? If you want the database, you want the management, as long as you're in there, you're cool. But nobody's like that. Nobody has just one system. You have your old systems. You have this new cool system that you want to have, and you're like, okay, well, I guess I can't have it because it needs to be compatible, you know, with this closed. Whereas this still gives you the developer experience of some of those alternatives, but lets you use, you know, your own Kubernetes and your own catalogs, MLflow, and all that kind of stuff. So that's quite nice.
I find it's the right balance between the flexibility for the data scientists to allow them to do the experimentation, to use all those different tools. But it has that kind of walled garden feel where IT also love the platform because it helps to provide some governance and security around what the data science teams are doing, but also not come in and displace all the work that they've done and all the other kind of tools and technologies.
The expertise they already have.
Exactly.
Like the SaaS people or the MLflow people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, that was an awesome demo. I'm glad I got to see it. I hope you learned something. Domino's here at Data Innovation Summit now. Otherwise, they can probably go into your website and find some
That's right, yeah.
good
Find
place
us
to start.
at domino.ai, or if you're here today, come and see us at booth B21.
Thanks. See you soon.